Hello again. My name is Fatimah Kahiga. I am the owner of Pure Skin Solutions located here in Aurora, Illinois. I am going to discuss waxing today with you all. I was going to discuss just various types of hair removal. However, I don't consider myself extremely knowledgeable in all of them. So I will discuss what I am very, very, very knowledgeable in, which is waxing. So waxing is the #1 hair removal services amongst estheticians right now. And depending on what type of aesthetics people service, it's pretty much a very good, it's pretty marketable, meaning it's affordable for the most part, because waxing is a good form of epilation, which means it's, hair being pulled from the root, and the effects of it, of course, are instant results. And it's just basically cost effective, amongst a lot of the other services. Something that's very similar to it is sugaring. I do not know much about sugaring. I just know it's pretty much applied the same way as wax, kind of in a slower motion, but it's just as effective. Anyhow, waxing is that's one of the older hair removing services that, again, is very effective, and many women get waxing, as far as a service. Men are starting to get into waxing. There are men who get their brows done, men who get male Brazilians, and they get other things done, especially depending on what type of hobbies they have, such as bodybuilding, cycling, swimming. Most of those men get waxed. And I do have some men who get full body waxes as well. And it's a lucrative business, and you have rotating clientele. But anyways, enough about the market. What waxing basically is, how it works is there are two primary types of wax. There's hard wax and then there's soft wax. So hard wax is used on areas where the skin is a lot more sensitive. Something where the skin is either thinner, some places where the skin is thinner, some places where the skin is exposed to a lot of moisture. So your bikini Brazilian areas, your inner backside, your underarms, and your face are primarily the areas for hard wax. Soft wax, which is also known as strip wax, that wax is used on larger surface areas, such as the leg, such as the back, your chest, your arms, and it is removed with a strip. And the type of strip it is, it could be muslin, it could be anything. Some people, I've even seen some people cut up sheets and use those. They said it's very effective. But as long as it picks up the wax, that's fine. It's effective. So the difference between the two is that the hard wax pretty much wraps itself, or saran wraps around the hairs. It's very hair focused. And when you're pulling, it just pulls the hairs. Once you pull the strip, the hairs come up, and it has little effect to your skin. So that's for, again, areas where the skin is sensitive. You want to go easy on it to avoid the risk of your skin lifting, and that can cause if not treated well, an infection. It can cause scabbing. It's just not a good look for a lot of people, especially when it's on your face. The soft wax actually adheres to the skin. So once it's placed on, once you apply it, not only is your hair coming off, but you're pretty much exfoliating your skin. And that, it can be a good thing sometimes. It just depends. Sometimes I'd have a client who has an old spray tan on, and when she comes to me to get her legs waxed, I help take that spray tan off because she's due, well, she's usually due for another spray tan. So she sees me to just make sure, you know, not make sure, but she comes to me to help remove it. Again, it helps exfoliate your skin, but it can be too much if used in certain places. I've seen people's skin lift plenty of times, and people have, you know, they're walking around with scabs around their brows, and you know, they just have to wait for their brows to heal. Anyhow, how the waxing process works is basically your hair is on, all your hairs are on different growth cycles. So when you have, you know, the hair next to, you know, one hair next to another, they're usually on different growth cycles. And when you wax, if you do it repeatedly, just very consistently, then you start to regulate the growth cycle of these hairs. So all of these hairs are trying, the objective is to put all of these hairs on the same growth cycle. And at the same time, you're damaging the follicles of these hairs. That's the ultimate objective, is to damage the follicle, because once you permanently damage it, then no hair is going to grow in that follicle anymore. And some people do this by accident when they over tweeze their eyebrows, and you know, it's a learning experience. Sometimes people do it so much where it can take eight months to, you know, a year before they start to see hair grow back in certain areas. I always tell people to be careful around their eyebrows, though, because that is where you're more likely to damage follicles. You know, it's a very sensitive area. Anyhow, so once, like a telltale sign to see that your hair is starting to get on the same cycle, the same growth cycle, is if you come in, let's say you're getting a Brazilian done on the monthly basis. You come in, you know, you get wax, it grows back, it's kind of sparse. You get wax, grows back sparse, and it keeps doing that. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get wax and it grows back real, like fuller than you've been seeing. Not full as in full before you even started waxing, but full as if, you know, like, oh wow, this is a little bit more than I expected to grow in because I've been looking so good lately. That's all of your hair coming in on the same growth cycle. So now the esthetician's job is to make sure she's removing everything as thorough as possible. And once you start to see that, like once you get waxed, your hairs grow back slower, they grow back sparse, and it starts to look a little patchy. So it's very effective, but you need to be consistent with it. Just like with everything else, you know, you have to be consistent with it. Laser is the same way. But as far as waxing, that's the objective. You want to damage those follicles. And again, once those follicles are permanently damaged, no more hair is going to grow in that follicle. You know, some ethnicities are a little bit more difficult. That, in my experience, some ethnicities are um, a, a lot more difficult to wax. Um, I look at some of my clients and I can tell right off the bat, some Latina clients, not all of you, not all of my Latina clients, but some of them, their hair can be very, very stubborn where it likes to break off at the surface. So I do a lot of tweezing when it comes to some of them, but it's still thorough. My objective is to get all these hairs out of the follicle. And my ladies with the German blood, I notice that as soon as I wax you, and all those hairs, like, they're very strong hairs. They're very stubborn. They like to stay into the root, and I have to pluck them out. And I do it because even though they're shorter, they break or whatever, you have to make sure the hairs are out of the root, because that's where a lot of ingrowns happen. You know, some people say, you know, I've gotten waxed before and I had a whole bunch of ingrowns, and it's not that the waxing caused the ingrowns. It's almost like shaving, because when people shave, they also get a lot of ingrowns. And you're shaving, for one, your skin is being irritated. Two, because the hair is right at the surface, sometimes your hairs can, I mean, not your hairs, but your skin can still grow over those follicles. And as your follicle's trying to grow through, you know, sometimes it itches. Happens when you shave. And it's the same effect as when you have hairs that break off at the surface when you're waxing. It starts to itch, you get irritated, and unfortunately for some, they can wind up with infections, pseudofolliculitis barbae, which is also known as like razor bumps. But as far as waxing is concerned, pulling the hair out of the follicle completely helps reduce the hair bumps and, you know, any kind of infection, because it's very painful experiencing this, and it's obnoxious, and it's aesthetically, it doesn't look great either to have hair bumps anywhere. So again, with waxing, and also ways to treat those types of issues is exfoliating. I tell people all the time, exfoliate, 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 whether it be a mechanical exfoliation, which is your sugar scrubs. You have an exfoliating glove. I do not recommend loofahs. I do not like loofahs. Loofahs are very unsanitary because they hold a lot of bacteria, and it looks so pretty because it's foamy, but it doesn't do anything. And I'll talk about ingredients in a whole nother segment, but I can't stand loofahs. So get you like an exfoliating glove. If you want to do something manually, get you even a rag, a wash rag isn't that bad. I mean, you're going to have to scrub a little bit, but that's not bad. And again, sugar scrubs, salt scrubs, you know, whatever has a slight abrasiveness against the skin without hurting it, without harming it, those work as exfoliators. Also, you know, you can get you a chemical exfoliant. Chemical exfoliators work really well. Sometimes they work too well. So if you're going to do this, exfoliate 2 to 3 times a week and leave it at that, especially with the chemical exfoliants, because I have experienced some clients using it every single day, and when they do that, too much skin comes off, and it's it's almost like they've exfoliated to the point where they're kind of raw. Their skin is, and it's just not a good look. It's not healthy for your skin. You're just trying to prevent ingrown hairs and just make sure, you know, if any hairs come in, you know, they come in easily. I believe that may be it as far as waxing is concerned. Because right now I have no notes. I'm doing this off the top of my head just because I know a lot about it, and I might be a little bit of, you know, a little bit scattered with it, but I've been waxing since, hell, I've been waxing since I started aesthetic school. So I've learned about a lot of things. I've learned body mapping. I've worked at a waxing studio for a couple of years, and I'm very, very comfortable with it. And I'm very, very thorough. That's where the perfectionism kind of comes out, which is it's not good for me, but it's great for the client. And, you know, I try to make sure all the hairs are gone, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. So if you have any questions, oh, you know what, before I end this segment, I know it's kind of a shorter segment than my last ones, but you know, again, we're only talking about waxing, and there's only so much you can talk about. So as far as instructions or guidelines to follow, there are contraindications when it comes to waxing. So if you're on some type of medication that affects the skin, there are some diabetes medications, and of course acne medications, different. A lot of people are into Proactive or Accutane. When you are on any kind of acne medications, you cannot wax. You cannot get waxed. You cannot get waxed. You cannot get waxed. I've had several clients fib to me about not being on anything, and as soon as I pull off that wax and see a very nice shiny piece of skin, meaning their skin just lifted and came up, I stop right then and there and I go, what are you taking? When was the last time you took it? Because this is what's happening to your skin, and you're going to end up scabbing. But after they've lied on their intake form, because that's what they do, because that's what protects me, because as soon as you get some kind of issue like that, people want to blame the professional, and you just wrote on your on your intake form that you weren't taking any medications. Also, if you get laser treatments, like within the past 6 weeks or something, if you have gotten tanned recently, like within the past 2 days, if you've gotten tanned, and people don't understand, well, I don't understand. Well, for one, I don't understand how people would get tanned and then get waxed, because I'm going to essentially take off your tan. And two, you just toasted your skin in so many words. You just put your skin under a UV light and kind of lightly toasted your own skin. So when you do that, and then you come to somebody for a wax, your skin is already sensitized, and anything else warm, and with some slight adhesive to it being put against it and then ripped off, is going to take off your skin. It's things like that. And the reason for the medications, some of these medications, a lot of these medications dry out your skin. So when your skin is that dry, if you have severely dry skin, you cannot get waxed. It it wouldn't make it would hurt you more than it would help you. So my Accutane users, I can't even wax you, or you can't be waxed for a good 6 months, because that's a very, very powerful acne medication. And I mean, it's to the point where it may cause damage to some organs, and it also may cause birth defects. It's to the point where women who are on it have to get tested for they have to get pregnancy tests on a monthly basis. So just be careful when you do take hair removal into consideration. In this case, specifically waxing. Now, after being waxed, I always advise my clients, one, please, for the next 48 hours, do not go sunbathing, sun tanning. You know, don't tan your skin. Again, there's a possibility that there is fresh skin, and, you know, depending on where I waxed, I may have lifted up a layer of skin, not like basically like the acid mantle, the protective barrier. So you don't want to expose that to UV rays, because that puts you at risk, you know, for damage and possibly some kind of melanoma, you know. I also tell them no sitting water for 48 hours. 48 hours is like my magic number. Nothing for 48 hours. No friction for 48 hours. No heavy perspiration for 48 hours. No sitting water, meaning bathtub, pool, jacuzzi. Don't do it. Don't use any fragrances down there. You shouldn't use any fragrances down there, or, well, period. But, you know, don't use any kind of fragrances within 48 hours. You don't want to irritate your skin. And if you are getting a Brazilian or something, I always tell people to sleep with no underwear, just because I don't want people to experience any kind of friction with clothing whatsoever when they've gotten waxed. No heavy exfoliation. So you don't need to exfoliate for 48 hours in any of those areas. Okay. If there are any questions, please write them in the comments. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of everywhere. It's pretty late right now. Oops. Sorry, you got a little glimpse of my spa. But it's a little late, and today I thought it was going to be an early day because I wasn't scheduled for a lot of people, but I got a lot of walk-ins, so that kind of took up my schedule, and that's fine. I'm not complaining. You know, I love the business and I'm forever grateful for it, but I'm a little scattered because it just caught me off guard. So anyhow, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments section. You know, just don't bash me. You'll hurt my feelings. I don't care. Constructive criticism is always welcomed. I'm not perfect. But anyways, it was nice chatting, and I hope that you all got something out of this, and I hope this clears up a lot for some people, as far as if you've never been waxed. Some people, they're afraid, especially when it comes to Brazilians. And some people, oh, you know what? There's also one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm everywhere with this. I am just everywhere. But there is a such thing as a histamine reaction, and people freak out when they get this. So let's say you've waxed somebody smooth as possible. If it's their first time and their skin is kind of sensitive, somewhat sensitive, they can experience this histamine reaction where it's just from the wax, and they'll get these fine bumps like around their brows. You can see like everywhere. They'll get these very, very fine bumps. This is not the same as ingrowns. It's just a histamine reaction. Your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to. So it's not natural to have hair removed from the root like that. So when it is removed from the root, you have the cells in your body like, hey, what the hell? We are exposed. No, you guys, you know, and they start to produce protective fluids to help block, you know, the opening, because your skin is the first line of defense when it comes to your organs, when it comes to your whole entire health. So I tell people, protect your skin, because this is what can keep, you know, if you get an infection through your skin, your whole body can be compromised, you know, your health can be compromised. But anyhow, your cells are, you know, spewing out this fluid like, nope, protect us. And they do it. It's an overproduction of fluid. So yes, around some of those follicles, you'll see those little bumps raised. It is okay. If you decide to do nothing about it, they will go away within 2 to 3 days. No biggie. Some people freak out, and I try to, you know, it's kind of hard. They just need to trust the process. I need you guys to trust the process when it comes to this. Or, you know, some people take a Benadryl because they understand, oh, okay, I see what's going on. So some people will take a Benadryl. Sure, you know, it's an antihistamine. So there's a good possibility of it going down. And then when I see something like this happen, because usually I can catch it, I will use what's called a high frequency device. And I will, I'll use it on that area. And high frequency, it works as an antiseptic. It looks scarier, it sounds scarier than what it is, but it's like a little light that has pure oxygen. It emits pure oxygen into your body at the time. And what it does is, again, it acts as an antiseptic, and it kills the bacteria that causes pimples. So after I finish waxing someone's brows, if they have a pimple or two, I just use the high frequency. First, I'll go over their brows, and then I'll go over any kind of pimple they have, because they usually request it. They're like, oh, can you use that little light that you have? And so they're like, it's like magic. It does kind of look like magic. You know, it seems like magic because the bumps go away. But anyhow, that is, yeah, it's a histamine reaction. It's harmless, and the way to keep it from happening, it sounds crazy, the way to keep it from happening is to keep getting waxed, because your skin will get used to it. And this usually happens to people who do not get waxed often. So once, because it happened to me actually, when I first got my eyebrows waxed for prom, my senior year. I mean, yeah, we used some makeup to cover it up, but yeah, I had bumps all around my brows. And I remember being told that by several guys. You got a breakout or rash or something around your... Thanks, I know. But anyhow, yeah, once your skin gets used to it, they'll stop coming, because it's like, oh, okay, we know. Have the hair. Anyways, for real, this time I'm leaving. Again, post any questions, comments, concerns in the comments section, and I will follow up with you. You all have a good day, a good evening, because it's not pretty late, but it's dark. You know, we're in Illinois, so now it's getting dark around 6 o'clock. Anyhow, have a good one. You guys take care of your skin. You know, it represents your whole entire life. Take care.